"Are you the guest with the reservation?" The woman asked quietly. "There's something important I need to discuss with you. May I have a moment?" Just as I was about to enter the restaurant, a woman in a chef's uniform stepped into my path. Her expression was tense, far too tense for a simple greeting. At first, I assumed it was about my order or a detail in the reservation, but the moment she spoke again, the color drained from my face. "My name is Emily Thompson. I'm 31 years old and work in advertising. It's a demanding industry, long hours, endless revisions, but seeing my ideas come to life makes it worth it. My husband, John, is a year older than me. We met at work, grew close over late-night deadlines, and have been married for just over a year. We're a dual-income household, and we function as a team. We split the chores, manage our schedules together, and support each other through the chaos of daily life." What began as professional collaborations slowly turned personal. We discovered we shared the same values, the same sense of humor, the same vision for the future. When our joint project neared its end, I feared we'd drift apart. Gathering all my courage, I confessed my feelings. To my relief, he felt the same. We dated for a year before John proposed. Before the wedding, he told me about his past marriage, brief, childless, and ended by mutual agreement due to irreconcilable differences. He spoke of it with quiet regret, as though he still blamed himself for its failure. It explained his emotional reserve, but I didn't see it as a flaw. I didn't marry him because I wanted a perfect story. I married him because I wanted a life with him. Our marriage started smoothly. We moved into an apartment near our workplaces, conveniently close to John's parents. I had worried about living so near my in-laws, imagining tension or interference, but those fears never materialized. They were kind, especially my mother-in-law. Weekdays passed in a blur of work. John and I barely had time for more than dinner conversations, so weekends became sacred. We loved food and often cooked together, experimenting with new recipes. Eating out would have been easier, but my food allergy made it complicated. I'm allergic to fruits from the Rosaceae family: apples, peaches, strawberries, pears. Even trace exposure causes swelling and painful rashes. I developed the allergy as an adult, and it came as a shock. I still remember the night I ate strawberries and felt my throat tightening, my lips swelling, panic setting in as breathing became difficult. The hospital confirmed it soon after. Losing foods I once loved was devastating. Worse still were the times I reacted to meals I believed were safe, only to discover later that fruit had been used as a hidden ingredient. Over time, I became anxious about eating anything I hadn't prepared myself. I hated asking restaurant staff endless questions, hated feeling like an inconvenience. Even so, I loved food. Cooking at home with John helped ease my anxiety, and thankfully, both he and his parents were understanding. My mother-in-law, in particular, was deeply empathetic. Her own father had suffered from a severe wheat allergy, and she understood how dangerous carelessness could be. "You shouldn't be afraid when you eat," she once told me gently. "I'll make sure you're safe." Her words nearly brought me to tears. I truly felt accepted. My in-laws treated me like family, not obligation. The fears I once had about marriage, about my allergy, slowly faded. Then one day, a project I had proposed at work succeeded beyond expectations. I was promoted. When I shared the news, everyone celebrated, especially my mother-in-law. "To celebrate," she said brightly, "let me take you out to lunch." She suggested an upscale restaurant inside a luxury hotel nearby. I hesitated immediately. "That place is far too fancy," I protested. "I can't let you do that." It had been a restaurant I once dreamed of visiting as a student, but it was extravagant and, more importantly, famous for desserts and dishes using Rosaceae fruits. She waved away my concerns. "This is a special occasion. Let me treat you." Her enthusiasm touched me, but my anxiety lingered. In the past, we always chose restaurants that rarely used my allergens. This place was different, even if my dish was safe. "What about cross-contamination?" Sensing my hesitation, she reassured me. "I'll inform them about your allergy when I make the reservation, and I have a connection there. They'll take good care of us." I was surprised. She'd never mentioned any connection before, but I trusted her. She had never been careless with my health. When I told John, he was just as surprised but relieved to hear that the restaurant had been informed. "It's your celebration," he said with a smile. "Enjoy it." So I agreed. On the day of the lunch, I took a half day off work. Since it was such a high-end place, I dressed more formally than usual. My coworkers noticed and teased me as I left, wishing me a good time. At the hotel entrance, my mother-in-law was already waiting. We were escorted promptly to our table, though the staff warned us there might be a delay due to the lunch rush. Unbothered, we ordered drinks while we waited. Encouraged by my mother-in-law, and feeling festive, I chose champagne. We talked and laughed, completely at ease. I had no idea that everything was about to change. That afternoon, everything tasted extraordinary. Perhaps it was the champagne, or perhaps it was the long-held anticipation of finally dining at a restaurant I had dreamed of for years, but my spirits were high. From the neighboring tables, I caught glimpses of beautifully plated dishes, each one looking more enticing than the last. I smiled to myself, eagerly awaiting our meal. Then my phone rang inside my bag. Realizing I had forgotten to silence it, I hurriedly reached for it. When I saw it was a call from work, the pleasant haze I was in vanished instantly. My heart tightened. Calls during lunch usually meant trouble. I excused myself from my mother-in-law and stepped outside the restaurant, making sure I was out of earshot in case the matter was confidential. It turned out to be a colleague needing clarification on a document I had submitted earlier that morning. Relieved that it wasn't a mistake or emergency, I answered their questions, and within 5 minutes, the call ended. As I was about to turn my phone off and head back inside, a woman approached me. "Excuse me," she said, "you're the guest with today's reservation at the restaurant, correct?" She was dressed in a chef's uniform. Her breathing was uneven, as if she had rushed out, and her expression was unusually tense for someone working a lunch service. Confused, I nodded. She said she needed to confirm something and began asking me questions. Then, suddenly, her face went pale. "You need to leave," she said urgently. "Please leave the hotel immediately. It's not safe for you to return to the restaurant." Her intensity startled me. I demanded to know what she meant. When she explained, the blood drained from my face. I didn't argue. I didn't hesitate. I rushed out of the hotel, climbed into a taxi waiting at the entrance, and told the driver to take me home. That evening, my phone rang again. It was my mother-in-law. The moment I answered, she exploded. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she shouted. "You left without saying a word. I reserved a special course just for you. You humiliated me." Her fury was unlike anything I had ever heard from her before. I had always known her as gentle, warm, considerate. I had expected concern, questions, worry, maybe disappointment. Instead, she screamed. "Don't you have any manners at all? What kind of upbringing did you have?" I froze. The woman I thought I knew was nowhere to be found. As she continued yelling, her voice sharp and relentless, I suddenly understood why people whispered about her behind closed doors. I stayed silent. That only enraged her further. "So now you won't even speak? Do you realize how disgraceful your behavior was? You're not fit to be my son's wife." She went on and on, eventually dragging my parents into it, criticizing how they had raised me. Only after exhausting herself did her voice finally lower. That was when I spoke. "You told me you informed the restaurant about my allergies when you made the reservation," I said quietly. "You told me I could relax, but the restaurant had no record of my allergies. Why?" There was a pause. The truth was this: the meal prepared that day contained my allergens, not just in the dessert, but hidden within the main dishes as well. The fruits I was allergic to had been used in marinades and sauces, invisible to the eye. The woman who stopped me earlier had been the chef responsible for our course. She had personally taken the reservation call. At no point had my allergies been mentioned. What caught her attention instead was the allergy badge attached to my bag. Concerned, she checked the menu one last time, and immediately realized the danger. If she hadn't come looking for me, I would have eaten that food without knowing. A severe allergic reaction would have been inevitable. At first, I couldn't believe my mother-in-law would intentionally endanger me, but the fact that the chef had left a packed kitchen just to warn me made the truth impossible to deny. She told me something else, too. She recognized my mother-in-law. She knew exactly what kind of woman she was dealing with. The chef advised me to leave immediately, and to go somewhere my mother-in-law wouldn't follow. Her name at the restaurant was Kate Young. In reality, She was my husband's ex-wife. When she saw me sitting with my mother-in-law, she immediately understood. She knew my mother-in-law well enough to know she wouldn't be dining with a woman her own age unless there was a reason. She realized I was the new wife and decided to help me. After marrying my husband, she had lived with his parents. At first, she too believed her mother-in-law was kind and gentle. That illusion shattered the moment they began living together. When my husband and father-in-law were away, the criticism started. Every chore was wrong. Every effort was mocked. As a full-time housewife, she had nowhere to escape. Even though she had trained professionally at culinary school, her cooking was constantly belittled, sometimes even thrown away without being tasted. She considered confiding in her husband, but his mother was skilled at hiding her cruelty in front of him. Knowing she wouldn't be believed, the ex-wife tried to gather evidence, but without money, independence, or privacy, she was constantly watched. Trapped, isolated, and powerless, she made a choice. She escaped through divorce. With no prior work experience, she relied on her culinary license and found employment at the restaurant. And on that day, she saved my life. She had worked diligently for years, and over time, the memories of her mistreatment faded. She began to enjoy her work, honing her skills and maturing into a fully capable chef. Yet somehow, my mother-in-law discovered she was employed there and began frequenting the restaurant. Upon realizing her ex-daughter-in-law was present, she subtly pressured her for discounts. While the ex-wife refused most demands, the shadows of past trauma occasionally made her yield. The connection my mother-in-law had spoken of all along referred to this woman. When I confronted my mother-in-law about why she hadn't mentioned my allergies to the restaurant, she feigned ignorance. "I knew about your allergies, so I must have told them." "Maybe it was an oversight by the staff," she said defensively, attempting to pin the blame elsewhere. But the reservation had been handled directly by the ex-wife. My mother-in-law had likely deliberately withheld the information, expecting the restaurant to bear the responsibility. Yet I was already onto her game. Any restaurant with strict allergy protocols would have ensured my safety, and calls are recorded for disputes, a fact she had not considered. Faced with potential evidence, she fell silent. I pressed further. "You've always been so careful about my allergies. Why did you ignore them this time?" Her silence shattered after a tense pause, replaced by a shocking outburst. "I despise you. You outshine me. You deserve pain." The envy was unmistakable. My successes at work, my reputation in the neighborhood, everything she resented in me, had driven her to malice. She arrogantly believed no one would believe my side. But I had prepared. I had collected evidence, informed my parents and John, and recorded our conversation. "Everyone will hear this," I said calmly. "My parents and John are listening, and this call is being recorded." Her face went pale. "Wait. John is there," she stammered. "Yes," he said, his tone quiet but burning with anger. "I heard everything. I can't believe you'd do this." Desperate, she tried to defend herself. "It wasn't like that. I didn't mean." But the words rang hollow. John's fury was unmistakable. "I don't even want to think of you as my mother anymore. We're cutting ties," he declared. My parents added that they would pursue legal action for attempted murder. John ended the call, ignoring her cries. Later, when he informed his father was furious. He suggested divorce and ultimately threw her out of the house. With no relatives to turn to and no income, she clung desperately to any lifeline. John, showing only minimal pity, provided a basic apartment and the first month's rent, telling her to find work and support herself. She attempted to intrude on our lives afterward, demanding money, but we refused. John remained stern, ensuring she could not approach our home again. Rumors suggested she eventually found employment at a nearby supermarket, struggling but surviving. The reason behind her actions became clear: jealousy. John's ex-wife had been quiet, obedient, and submissive, easy for my mother-in-law to control and belittle. But I was different, independent, successful, respected. Initially admired, my mother-in-law's envy grew until she could no longer tolerate my competence. Unable to bully me directly, she sought ways to harm me. After the explosive confrontation, John and his father forced a confession. John later apologized to his ex-wife for not noticing her suffering at the time. She had moved on, dating someone new, and their conversation ended on a peaceful note. Thanks to her courage, I even became friends with her. Though she was his ex-wife, our friendship was genuine and unproblematic. With the mother-in-law out of the picture, John and his father organized a small celebration for my promotion. Surrounded by their support, I felt relieved, happy, and more determined than ever to continue working hard, free from the shadow of my mother-in-law.